Explainer. Can U.S. port infrastructure handle extra crude exports? New York U.S. crude shippers are exporting huge quantities of oil to meet strong call from Europe following Russia's invasion of Ukraine and subsequent sanctions against Moscow. In coming years, U.S. oil might also discover even greater shoppers foreign places, but that might check the competencies of U.S. export infrastructure. How much crude does the United States typically export? U.S. crude exports averaged 3.7 million barrels in line with day (BPD) over the 4 weeks through overdue May, their highest since March 2020, in keeping with the U.S. Energy Information Administration. More recently, exports are averaging 3.1 million barrels of oil per day, making the U.S. considered one of the largest crude exporters international. Where does the United States export oil from? The United States basically exports from the Gulf Coast from ports including Houston, Corpus Christi and Beaumont, all in Texas. Corpus Christi is the largest, exporting about 2 million barrels of oil per day of oil, accompanied through Houston at around 700,000 BPD, said Matt Smith, lead oil analyst for the Americas at Kepler. In the first half of 2022, more than 99% of U.S. crude exports got here out of the Gulf Coast, Kepler statistics showed. How much could the United States potentially export? Analysts say the U.S. Gulf may want to export more or less 5 million barrels of oil per day. Any extra than that could reason huge congestion in transport channels, Smith mentioned. However, that would additionally require an increase in U.S. production. The weekly record for U.S. crude exports turned into almost 4.5 million BPD in December 2019. The world's top manufacturer is pumping about 12 million barrels of oil per day, and uses most of that oil domestically. U.S. ports were increasing in latest years, consisting of predominant dredging projects to handle larger tankers which could convey more oil, and a few, like Corpus Christi, may want to probably take care of greater exports. The Port of Corpus Christi is present process and development assignment that, once finished subsequent 12 months, would expand the ship channel to boom U.S. exports. It will, but, nevertheless require ship-to-ship transfers because the deliver channel isn't deep sufficient to completely load the very large crude carriers (VLCCs), which keep approximately 2 million barrels, favored in other foremost ports. Gulf Coast exports are anticipated to surpass 4 million BPD in mid-2023 and attain 4.8 million BPD by using late 2024, stated Louise Dixon at Rystad Energy. Where does U.S. oil go? The United States sends the bulk of its crude, approximately 1.4 million barrels of oil per day, to Europe, round 1 million barrel of oil per day to Asia, 250,000 barrels of oil per day to Canada, and different barrels to Latin America, Kepler's Smith said. U.S. export demand is closely decided by using the price of U.S. crude relative to Brent crude, the worldwide benchmark. Currently, U.S. crude is buying and selling at a reduction of around $6.80 to Brent, making U.S. grades attractive to buyers in other nations. Why is the U.S. exporting oil when local fuel prices are high? Not all U.S.-produced oil is most desirable for home refineries. The United States produces quite a few sweet crude that's lower in sulfur content material, and its refineries are typically geared in the direction of processing more bitter, heavier crude, Smith mentioned. That method, more domestic barrels will be dispatched overseas to refiners which could technique them, while U.S. refiners import barrels grade ideal to their use. The United States has lengthy been a crude importer, although Internet imports are step-by-step declining. The nation imported, on Internet, about 3.1 million BPD in 2021, extra than halved from 6.8 million BPD in 2017, in line with the EIA.